Okay, today we shall be studying the first poem in our syllabus, which is by Robert Browning. So, the first poem that we are dealing with by Robert Browning is My Last Duchess. This poem was first published in 1842 and it was published in a book. The name of that book was Dramatic Lyrics. The dramatic lyrics was actually a compilation of various poems, and in this poem, in this book, one of the poems was this poem, "My Last Duchess." It was again published in 1863, and when it was published in 1863, it was published in another book by Robert Browning. The name of that book was Dramatic Romances. It is a dramatic monologue. Dramatic monologue is a technique of writing poems. Monologue is talking to the self, or talking to yourself, or speaking to yourself. And dramatic is when you create a situation where you are talking to yourself as if there is no one else. That is called dramatic monologue in simple words. But technically, dramatic monologue is a situation where the the speaker or the character that is the narrator or the speaker in the poem, he is speaking and he is speaking to someone not who is not taking part in the speech or not taking part in a dialogue. Rather, he is a silent listener, a passive listener. But it is just from the words and from the various responses of the speaker that we come to know that there is someone or someone else also present in the situation. The speaker in this poem is the Duke of Ferrara. Ferrara is an important city of Italy. You would have seen that there is this word written uh, in the very first line that is in front of you. Ferrara is a city, the name of a city in Italy, and it is the Duke of Ferrara. Duke is a kind of governor or a kind of ruler or a kind of um, small unit of the government in place. Some of the responsibilities of a duke in old England were like the ones that we have here with a DC or with a commissioner nowadays. So he was a kind of ruler of the city. It was an important cultural center during the Renaissance, this city, Ferrara. Whether the character of the Duke in the monologue is based on some actual historical figure or it was an imaginary figure, that cannot be um, established, but there can be no denying the fact that this is that that in the monologue the poet has captured the very spirit of Renaissance Italy, the very sensibility, the very intrigues, the greed, and everything related to the age of Renaissance. the cultural and the artistic activities which were going on in Italy in those days. Robert Browning's monologues are unique. They grew out of some crisis or critical situation in the life of the speaker. You would see that always when the poem starts, it is a very critical situation in the life of the speaker, and this is why he or she is indulging in a monologue. In such a situation, the speaker of the monologue indulges in self analysis and self introspection. And in this way, his soul is laid bare in the poem, as if he opens up himself to us or herself to us, the very feelings and the very emotions are shared with the reader, and he analyzes what has happened and what is going to be in future. In the monologues, the, the speaker of Robert Browning's poems, excuse me, generally refers to other character or to other characters or a character, and in this way he reveals not only his character but the character of others as well. The presence, like I have just told you before, the presence of a listener is also felt, and thus the monologue is a remarkable piece of character study. The poem that we are studying, My Last Duchess, in this poem also, we not only analyze the character of the Duke, but also the character of his last Duchess. And the messenger of the neighboring count forms the listener or plays the role of a listener. So mainly there are three people who we would come to know about. The first one, the Duchess. The poem is about a duchess. A duchess is the wife of a duke. Like we use the word queen for the wife of a king, in the same way, duchess is the word that we use for the wife of a duke. The Duke of Ferrara, he is a very powerful duke. So we would come to know about him also because he is the speaker. And then there has to be someone who would be a listener, silent listener, like I have told you before. So there is one listener also, and the listener is a messenger who has visited the Duke from a neighboring city or from a neighboring county. The Duke of Ferrara is a very powerful duke in this monologue, dramatic monologue we shall come to know. And he is a proud and hard-hearted duke. He has been widowed recently, so his duchess is no more. He intends to marry a second time, the messenger of a powerful count who has his castle in the neighborhood, whose empire, whose estate, or whose palace is in the neighboring count. He comes to the duke's palace to negotiate with him the marriage of the count's daughter. So this is a kind of proposal that is under consideration. The Duke takes the messenger to his picture gallery and shows to him the portrait of his the portrait of his deceased wife, the Duchess. The portrait is very much realistic, and very much lively. And the Duke, who is in a great love with fine arts, is justly proud of it, because he shows that it is a masterpiece of art that is portrayed in the form of a sketch of this last Duchess. The Duke points out the portrait to the messenger and tells him that he alone uncovers the picture and nobody else is allowed to do so. So no one else sees it, only the Duke himself sees the picture. Then the Duke notices an inquiring look in the eyes of the messenger. Now, this is something that we come to know about the messenger from the very words of the speaker, who is the Duke, and there is no question in words from the messenger. Um, the Duke understands that the messenger wants to know the cause of the deep look in the eyes of the Duchess. The portrait is so much realistic that it looks as if there is a deep and an earnest and an enthusiastic look in the eyes of the portrait. So he knows that what he knows that he would have to now explain to the messenger the reason of that deep look. That's why we say that the Duke, when he understands the very the very question in the eyes of the messenger, that's why we know that he proceeds to satisfy the messenger. In this way, there is this dramatic monologue that converts into a monologue, because now is the time when he would speak, the speaker would speak, and the listener would listen, and after that, the poem starts. Because he has to create a situation where he would have to make the characters indulge in this dramatic monologue. That's why there is first this critical situation and then the poem starts. The inquiring looks, particular gestures, and movements of the listener serve as a big question mark and provide the speaker with an occasion or an opportunity to explain and analyze everything that has happened to him and the Duchess. In this way, much valuable light is thrown on the character of the Duchess, the character of the Duke himself, and we also come from the responses of the Duke about the the character of the listener, the silent listener, who is the messenger in this case. We stop it here. The session is about to end, and then we restart it and see what is next. Thank you.